Yeah, the choice of bandwidth, upgrades, kind of a different subject, but that's okay. The choice of bandwidth upgrades always has a lot more to do with the local markets than anything else. Every spring, spring, that's when we do it. Every winter and spring, we start looking at what the local marketplaces is, because that's when we're filling out our E-rate documentation and planning what the upgrades are going to be for the next year. So it's a very laborious process of calling the ISPs, seeing what the deals are that they're offering, who can we upgrade, at what cost. We need to drag Amy in at that point, and we put together a plan. And we always try to upgrade as much as possible. But frankly, a lot of it depends on what the ISPs in each community are doing.
You know, if they don't have bandwidth themselves, you can't buy it.
No, right. Yeah.
Is there reporting software on these phone calls?
There is. And that is one of the benefits of this project. Now, I will tell you it's going to require some setup on our part. We're going to have to get some of these other projects out of the way first. But we believe we should be able to provide statistics on sessions, not individual people and what they're doing, but statistics on how many Wi-Fi sessions are happening at your library. We'll also have a lot easier time providing splash screens for the library so that users or patrons have to click through acceptable use policies, which has been an issue at a few libraries. And we're doing it now, but we're doing it through a third-party service. It would be nice to be able just to do it ourselves with these devices.
Any other questions on this? Do we have a motion to move ahead with the wireless internet basic service change? So moved.
Yes.
All right, the libraries will be first.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passed.
And Broden and Austin are at the top of the list.
I make a motion then. Okay. Popular work collection.
Okay. Yep, got it right here.
Well, now I have to remember what was written. So what this is sort of a deceptive name, but this grew out of the LSPA project that we're currently working on for Collection HQ. They're gracing us with some credit. So we were trying to find the best way to use this money, and what it came down to was sort of this popular work collection is supposed to be sort of an experimental collection where we're going to look at ways of manipulating this data in the system and seeing what happens with requests and hold lists and a slew of other questions we can't possibly answer simply because we don't have the materials to do sort of this experiment with. It serves the added bonus of there being more copies out there for your patrons to use of popular materials. But they won't be restricted in many ways. There won't be local requests used on these. My plans in my head are that we will sort of redesign some of the I-types and how they're used, and probably some collection codes too, so that we can look at how we could possibly simplify some of the things in our database and what impact that has on patrons' use of material. Donna, do you have anything you want to add?
Just that this was all a happy and unforeseen circumstance. When we wrote the data-driven collection development project, we didn't know that Collection HQ was going to give us this very large credit with Baker and Taylor. That was a signing incentive that they trotted out for us when we actually signed. So it's not part of the project in any way. So we had the happy task of deciding how to use this. And these credits go over a period of 3 years. They can only be used on materials purchased from Baker and Taylor. So it's not like we could ask for a check or something like that.
And they can only be used for print material.
That's correct. So we thought about parceling it out amongst the libraries, and frankly, what each library would get would be so small that it just really wouldn't make any difference at all, even for the smallest libraries. So we were trying to find a way to use this more strategically where we could use it to really make an impact. And so that's where this idea came from. We would have a collection housed here at the SELCO office, popular materials, popular authors and titles and series that would supplement the materials that the libraries are purchasing. And hopefully we're thinking that once they hit the collection, that we're not going to see them again because they're never going to come back here. They're going to be flying around the region probably for the duration of the popularity of those titles. And then the side benefit for us is that we can then manipulate the I-types and the collections and the policies surrounding them to sort of challenge some of the assumptions that we've made over the years and what is the best way to reduce the request period, for example, and how quickly patrons are getting materials. We can try some things out that we can't do with a library's collection. And this will go very nicely with the Collection HQ project, even though it was not envisioned originally as part of it.
Two questions. Have any impact on your in-house facilities for the storage of the collection if for some reason it doesn't move?
We don't think so, but yeah, if for some reason it doesn't move, which I don't
think that we can.
No, I don't see James Patterson's books sitting on our shelf back here when they're new.
We have on our movable shelves open space with lots of space between them that we have been storing like boxes and things, which we could certainly take advantage of the movable shelving. So far we've had books on one side but not the back side. So we have lots of space.
Then the next question would be disposal when the collection is exhausted, for lack of a better term.
I have some ideas about that, but we haven't really talked a whole lot about
it. Is that even an issue with how you dispose of your property?
No, because this is, if it were part of the LSTA project, we would have to hold on to it for between 3 to 5 years. I'm guessing that these are such popular titles, they're going to be broken, fined before they...
And then dispose of them in the normal process.
We're going to dispose of them in the normal process, or we'll come up with something very creative, new, and nice.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So that's it in a nutshell.
The goal really is to get a bunch of popular fiction out there so that your individual request list will have, your patrons will have more titles in the region, more copies rather, of those same popular titles.
And it will benefit us as well because we can experiment a little bit with policies in Horizon and get some ideas on how basically what patron and request behavior looks like under different scenarios, which will help us out a lot with the strategic plan. We do have some tasks in there that require us to take a look at Horizon configurations and policies and streamline things where possible. And certainly there's been some interest on some of the individual boards within the region in having us simplify things. So this will give us an opportunity, besides simply supplementing the library's collections, we will also get to actually do some data-driven analysis as part of this so that we're not just making decisions based on what we think would happen.
I would.
Yeah, we could have easily.
One of the things I would say, though, that we talked about is that while, yes, we will be buying popular collections, popular titles, do not in any way at this point let it affect what you're purchasing.
Right.
Because it is going to be an experiment. So I may buy a whole bunch of copies of James Patterson and do different things with whatever they are just to see what happens when you change this or you change that.
And there may be a comparable author where we don't buy anything for this collection at all because we want to see what happens with the library.
And I will tell you, we are not buying with 13 e-copies of 50 Shades of Grey. We're not buying more paper copies.
Right. So,
There's a movie. I already own it.
so there will be.
I'm rereading that, Mary Kay. The trailer.
So there will be some titles and authors that we deliberately choose not to add to this collection because we want to use them as a control.
I think one of you has
I also downloaded the works of Shakespeare.
Well, and if Cheryl decides that we need 50 Shades of Grey, she'll buy it and it'll be fine. I'm just, it's like, but it's still on the bestseller list.
Any other questions or comments on this? We are hoping
Is
for...
this an action item?
It
we're
was made
hoping
an
for
action item.
We're hoping for a recommendation that y'all think this is an awesome idea.
Awesome. Awesome.
Not a second?
Yeah.
All right.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, Technology Users Group.
What would you like us to do? We've got our own little internal list of sessions that we're thinking about having, but we want to hear what you think we should do. And I will write them down.
I think you better start the list with the offer by Owatonna.
Okay.
A response to an offer.
Yeah, we had that on our internal list already, but we will certainly add
I think
it here
that
as
share
well.
that with the group.
Sure. I know. What was that again?
Tyler? Proposal was for the Owatonna Public Library staff to do a short session on library promotion on Facebook.
Yeah, you did get a reply
Yeah.
from her name.
She's a girl. And this is good because one of the things that came out of the legacy PR discussion was that people wanted more help with PR, but one of them was how to take media promotion for legacy programs and use it in a social media setting. So it'll be a nice dovetail with what we heard from the libraries that stayed for the legacy marketing focus group. So thanks, Mary Kay.
Just because you come up with an idea doesn't mean you have to do it, although you're certainly welcome to if you want. So we'll be clear about that.
How are we doing on mobile?
How are we doing on mobile? Is that a question for me, or is that a comment?
Question overall as far as how mobile applications are being addressed with the SELCO processes?
That's a big question.
I just thought I'd throw it in.
You used to have a new report.
In my project report? Well, we had a couple of stabs at the mobile version of the catalog, which is on hiatus right now because we've had some other projects going on that have taken priority, and Cersei Dynamics hasn't quite been where we wanted them to be. So we've just kind of put that on the back burner, and that's why you haven't seen it on the project report recently. In a broader sense, the enterprise catalog, even though it is not a mobile app in any way, does seem to work pretty well on tablets. Not so great for phones, obviously, because that is such a smaller device. And that's probably the service that we offer that has the most applicability. Cersei Dynamics has talked a little bit about mobile versions of Horizon, but when we start looking at the details on that, what we find out it is that it's basically a screen sharing application where you run Horizon on a PC somewhere in an office, and then people can, yeah, John's shaking his head, and I agree. Although with this new Citrix farm that we're going to be implementing that I mentioned earlier, there is better support for mobile. Now, how Horizon will translate into that, I don't know, but it is something we're going to take a look at. Cersei Dynamics is offering their new mobile SERC platform, which they are very excited about. I don't think it's quite in general release yet, but I've been hearing that they're testing it, and we are keeping an eye on that as well. And that would be a neat thing where you would attach a barcode scanner to an iPhone or an iPad and walk around your building checking things out. But certainly, we just came off the 23 Mobile Things program. So some kind of session on where are we at with mobile access to services is something we could put together if there's some interest in that.
And 23 Mobile Things will be relaunching in October. Do any other libraries have a mobile app?
Faribault, Buckham Memorial, I believe, is using Boopsy. And I'm thinking there's one more, and I'm not sure about that. I know Faribault is.
And Ann, this is Ann. As you're thinking about changing your lab, are you thinking of moving in the mobile direction in-house?
I'm thinking we just are going to deploy. See now, Donovan, you got me saying deploy.
It's a good word.
We're going to implement lending laptops and iPads. And so, no, as far as a mobile app, we just keep waiting for yours. But if we need it, I see people on their phones trying to use our catalog right in the library all the time. I've looked at Boopsy before, and I just keep thinking, I don't want to do that, pay for that individually if we're going to have a system-wide solution soon, but soon keeps moving away.
Yep. Okay, so that we could do a lot with that idea. So I've got some thoughts on that written up there.
I don't know if you've been over recently, but we have what do we call it? A toaster? I don't know what it's actually called. It's like a microwave oven, but it's store 10 iPads.
Oh, I have seen it. I think I saw it when we were out there.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I've seen it in operation yet.
Yeah.
That was like a wireless toaster.
Yeah.
It charges up and I can say it reboots stuff.
Reformat.
Thank you, John. Reformat.
Something that
Please. Okay.
yeah, I guess expanding on that idea, I think just taking some time once a year to collect the experiments that we've tried and do some sort of review on them. Like we've had Userful now for 3 years. I think Red Wing's thinking about it. We try things, but then I don't know if we evaluate, as a region, then look at them very much. Sometimes it's happened.
And what is that, Userful?
Yeah, Userful is something that we use to give children access. So it takes two PCs and makes 12 workstations, and then it's all managed remotely, so there's never any updating. It just gets updated automatically.
Okay.
It's kind of cool. I mean, we like it, but yeah, you should know about it before we've had it for 3 years, probably.
It's advertised as a simple and low-cost desktop virtualization.
Yeah, and it's got pros and cons, but yeah, I don't know how we share that kind of information.
Okay. All right. I've got it on our list.
I don't know how this fits and if it even does, but I know that Minitex has certainly been pushing the fact that there's something new in all the Learning Express. I don't know if they would come down and talk about it. I mean, I don't know if there's even interest, but I know they've been pushing it because I've seen.
Do we know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
We can check on that.
it kind of
How about evaluate Zinio?
You took the words right out of my mouth, man.
Sorry. I can't see who's leaning forward.
We could also explore video connectivity for meetings.
Okay, now, this is supposed to be presentations. So I will take that.
Right.
I will definitely remember that. So what kind of Zinio session are you thinking? Talk about the libraries that are using it, talk about how they're using it, and then how it works?
Yeah, and then maybe, like, for example, I was pretty excited about it originally, but meh, So just I wouldn't want us to end up implementing something region-wide because I was all for it 2 years ago.
Okay.
No, I was literally about to say, use Zinio as an example, and it'd be nice to see presentations from libraries about some of these things like Zinio, FreeGol, potentially any video-on-demand services that they're currently using to see, because when you get a sales pitch, obviously it's the best thing ever made.
Right.
But we Goodhue County just did a review of Zinio and we decided not to purchase it, but it would be nice to see how the libraries are using it, what their experiences are, and maybe if more than one library is using it, we can hear from a couple people and they can say, wow, this really sucks, or this is, great.
You decided not to purchase it?
So,
I was going to say, I think you have a disappointed picture.
You like it because of cost.
cost was certainly probably the biggest factor. We felt that the use would not justify the cost. But looking at some other libraries' data, and in some ways it was clunky. We were just not real. One of the biggest deal breakers was you have to create 2 accounts and 2 logins for every time you want to. And we just thought, no, people have a hard enough time figuring out Overdrive.
Offering a purchase. And to an unsophisticated user,
They were saying why. Yeah.
Okay.
It's tricky. It's not a clean thing.
Yeah.
however, it's a really cheap way to read The Economist.
Yeah.
Any other suggestions?
You can also pretend you're a student at his place, and they'll give you the student grade.
We should have something on ethics.
Oh my God. Well, we know you wouldn't be leading that session, right?
Yeah, you need to be careful. He's typing. This is a great list.
Yes.
This will keep the staff busy for many user group meetings.
All right.
I have one more, and that's card registrations. I know that I've heard it in different places before, but how authentication and card barcode ranges, is authentication still going to continue to go against that kind of thing? When we talk about, oh, you can register your card here or whatever, and where can you get a card, I've heard it come up at some of the directors' meetings statewide, and it sounds like not all libraries do the same thing. Like in terms of
There are puzzles, and there are puzzle looks around this entire table.
Are you talking about the increased mobility of the population, how we live in one place and work in another place, and you're home away from home during the daytime, and that's the only library you use? That kind of stuff.
Or are you thinking like online?
No, I'm talking about like, for example, for us, we say that you have, our borrower policy says that you can get a library card if you live in Minnesota. And sometimes people would choose to have a card from this library or that library based on what that library can do at this library or that library.
Yes.
And so right now we're funded geographically, and we can provide some services to a geographic group, but take a service like Zinio. Maybe it doesn't make sense for all libraries to have that. What if a few did, and the patrons who really, really valued that signed on with that library? Well, right now we can't do that. So just talking about how our policies right now, how we really use them, how they align with our services. Yeah, card registration in the digital age. But does anybody see what I'm trying to say in a stumbling manner?
I see it in. When we first started with FreeGol, we had people drive down from the Twin Cities who wanted to sign up at the Owatonna Public Library so they could have access to it.
Exactly. I get people from Albert Lee who want to come over, who want to use Mango.
when we did that contract, it was for Steele County residents, so I can't allow those from outside if they, yeah. It's
So we can certainly look at it, and this is Ann. The reality is that some of this is restricted by contract, some of it is restricted by state law.
But I think what I hear,
And what I'm wondering is, and now we all have our own policies on what we do. I'm not sure that, I think that if you're a mobile patron and you ask the question at Albert Lee, Owatonna, and Austin from just frontline staff, you're going to get 3 different answers.
yeah.
I think I understand. Okay.
And when you said card registration, there has been a request for SELCO to consider a single patron registration form like MELSA uses. So if you walk into any MELSA library, the registration form, the actual piece of paper that you have to sign is the same in all 103 libraries. And so that's where I thought you were going. This is a much broader context. I was thinking of it in the most narrow of context. What does the form look like that somebody fills out their personal information on?
Right, but it could even be really narrow in like have barcode ranges outlived their usefulness.
No.
Do we?
No. Well, I'm going to say that that's one of those things that we strongly maintain, that SELCO still maintains the list of borrower ranges, because we recently had a library that went out and got its own barcodes and then contacted SELCO when we started getting duplicate numbers.
Right, right. No, I don't mean that. I meant, I guess, like the unique beginning entry or something. Or maybe we would have sections of them or something. I mean, is it still a good thing that Owatonna has a unique prefix compared to ours? I don't know.
I understand.
Okay, as long as the libraries are independent, I don't think there's a way, but this is a little off our topic.
That goes then up to... Yeah, and I may or may not know of anyone who's done that.
But I know.
So we've got a number of topics, and I think Tyler's tried to do a good job of capturing it. Charles.
Okay, I think we're after 5. Do we have any announcements before we adjourn?
Only that this group needs to decide, it's the last item on the agenda, when you're meeting. If this group will meet in September, or if we're meeting in October.
Do we have any reason to meet in September, or do we usually put out the call and see if there is a reason?
Put out the call and see if there's anything. That's what we usually do.
If there isn't a reason, then we would meet in October.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure the group know, and we would certainly highly encourage the members of this committee to come to the user group meeting.
Which is what date? September 9th.
What time?
9:30. Okay, I think that's done.
We are adjourned.